Hola, cage fighting connoisseurs. This is KidNativeBloodyElbow.com bringing you the infamous, it's not the infamous and patented, it's the Bathrobe review of UFC Fight Night Austin, Swanson versus Edgar, Edgar versus Swanson, plus a little bit of talk about Manny Pacquiao and Chris Algieri because I got to see that fight too. Had multiple screens going last night. And frankly, that kind of sums up the whole experience. It was a little bit distracting. The UFC definitely felt like far and away the lesser of the two events. Um, but as far as actual fight quality and entertainment, I'd say it was fairly even because the Pacquiao undercard, what I saw of it was meh, and the UFC card, well, the UFC card was pretty meh as well. I mean, you got on the Fox Sports 1 broadcast, at least, out of 10 fights, you had 7 decisions, 1 KO, and 2 submissions. So it wasn't the most action-packed thing ever. But a couple of fights had some significance. Most importantly, Frankie Edgar seems to have bumped off Cub Swanson from title shot country, which has got to be a relief to the UFC. Not fair to Cub Swanson, but the reality is they can make a lot more money putting Jose Aldo in the cage against Frankie Edgar, or even better, Conor McGregor, than they can against Cub Swanson, a guy that Aldo already beat in just seconds years ago, and who just, for as good a fighter as he is and as much hard work as he's put in, just doesn't have that much cachet with fans. So it is what it is. To he that hath shall be given, and to he that hath not shall be taken away, even to the last jot and tittle. So there it is. So Frank Edgar certainly took away from Cub Swanson, just demolished him. Um, Swanson looked good in the first round. I mean, it looked like he had the edge standing on Frankie, but once Frankie figured out how to take him down and then had no problem keeping him down, um, it was just a long, long night for Swanson. He couldn't get back in the fight at all after the second round, and very impressive that Frankie got the submission win, all-time record for the latest submission win in UFC history, 456 to the 5th round. So I'd give that fight 3 stars, maybe 3.5 stars, just because it had divisional significance. But it wasn't a great deal of fun to watch unless you just love half guard action and watching one guy sitting on top of each other of another dude wailing away with medium effective blows. So yeah, it wasn't that great. Overall, I'd give the card, and I'd watch it. I'd watch it later. I'd watch it right before Frankie Edgar's next big fight. Is when I'd watch it. And then as overall card, yeah, I gave it 3 stars, maybe 3.5 stars, but was pretty mad. The Pacquiao card, it was all right. I mean, I'd give it 3 stars as well. The pay-per-view's expensive proposition. I felt like the undercard had a couple of good fights, but my attention was divided. But Pacquiao looked sharp, beat the bricks off Chris Algieri, and more importantly to me, it sets up a potential Pacquiao Mayweather fight, a long overdue Pacquiao Mayweather fight, and it's looking like the pay-per-view numbers have eroded enough that there's actual interest. What Kevin Iole and Brent Brookhouse and other writers who know are reporting is that they're hearing there is actual movement behind the scenes, that Mayweather and his crew and Bob Arum, who handles Pacquiao, and his crew are looking at working something out. And Bob Arum's talking about something grandiose, like a massive event in China with Chinese fighters on the card. $95 pay-per-view tab. They're hoping to sell 3 million pay-per-views, and the deal is they've just got to pay everybody extra. Like the way that they slice the pie up, even if the fight were twice as big as the normal Mayweather fight, he would end up making less money because he'd have to share more with Pacquiao and his team, which he's not used to doing. So just another example of winner take all economics. Now it fucks everybody because it's a fight we've all wanted for years, and Mayweather, I think, mostly has been chicken shit to take it. But Pacquiao called him out. Somebody asked him, "Is it true? Do you think Mayweather's scared of you?" And Pacquiao was like, "Yeah, kinda." But let's run through the rest of the UFC card. The best part of the card by far was on the Fight Pass. 3 pretty impressive UFC debutants. First up, featherweight Doo-Ho Choi, the Korean Superboy, demolished Juan Manuel Puig. I mean, just demolished him. I mean, I don't know that means that this kid's like a featherweight for the ages or anything, but he sure looks like he can beat up a scrub. So good to see an exciting young Korean fighter come into the UFC. 18-second KO. And then the women's strawweight, Paige Van Zant, who's certainly a lovely young lady, and Dana White was thrilled to send out her Instagram picture of her face after the fight. But she and Kaylin Curran put on a great 3-round fight that Van Zant finally won 254 in the third round by TKO. Just some really fun exchanges. Curran kept getting her with hip tosses, but Paige Van Zant's not somebody you can keep down in side control. She's so flexible. She'd roll all the way over and go for an armbar, roll all the way over and reverse it and take Curran's back. She did that multiple times. Lots of fun exchanges. I thought it was a fun fight. Oh, I'd give the Doo Ho Choi 4 stars. 18-second knockout plus exciting new fighter. And then Paige Van Zant and Kaylin Curran, I would also give 4 stars because 2 exciting young fighters and lots of back and forth action. And I thought a fair amount of skill. And then that brings us to the Fox Sports 1 preliminary card, which opened up with a pretty sad thing for longtime fans and Texans like myself. Akbar Areola submitted Yves Edwards after just beating the piss out of him. Got the submission in 1 minute 52 with an armbar. Let's be frank. I mean, these guys have both been fighting for a long time, but 10 years ago, Yves Edwards would have mopped the floor with this cat, and he's just been through too many wars, taken too much damage, and I wouldn't presume to tell Yves Edwards what to do, but I think it's time he was cut from the UFC and retired. I don't see any advantage in him continuing to fight. He's lost several steps, and he's definitely lost his chin. And as far as Areola, not really a prospect. He's an older dude. He looks much improved, but I just don't see him making much of an impact at the lightweight division. I would give that 3 stars, despite the fact that it hurt my feelings. There's nothing wrong with the fight. Maybe 3.5 stars, and I'd watch it. It's hard for me to say watch that one immediately, but might as well get it over with. Or watch it never if you don't want to see Yves Edwards take a pointless beating. I forgot to say, Doo Ho Choi is definitely a watch now, and Paige Van Zant and Kaylin Curran is also a watch now if you're into the ladies' action. Lightweights, James Vick and Nick Hein, a pretty grueling decision. I would watch this one much, much later, maybe never. And pretty bad decision as well. Nick Hein got 2 knockdowns in the first round, and one of the judges gave all 3 rounds to Vick. So some bullshit going on there. And Vick figured out how to avoid the big counterpunch Hein was catching him with in the first round, but that's about all he did. He used his reach to then outpoint him, and it was a pretty tedious fight. I'd give it 2 stars and say you can skip that one. Watch that one never. And then middleweight, Roger Narvaez got a split decision win over Luke Barnett. Another tedious, painful bore. I would skip this one, never watch it, and I'd give it 2 stars. Heavyweight, Ruslan Magomedov got a unanimous decision over Josh Copeland. Totes watch this one later. I mean, if you're really interested in Magomedov, maybe before his next fight, give that a look. There's some wild brawling, but just painful, tedious bore. Lightweights, and then the main cards open up with lightweight handsome Matt Wyman, who's not as handsome with the shaved head as he used to be. Defeated Isaac Valley Flag by unanimous decision. I was really impressed with Valley Flag, actually. He's a pretty boring fighter. He was just forced in the clinch the whole time, but I was surprised he could outmuscle Matt Wyman in the clinch. It was his ground game that cost him the fight. Wyman really had his way with him there, and I think Wyman over time dominated in the clinch ultimately, but it really wasn't a very fun fight, and I would skip that one as well and give it I'd give it 2 stars. And then flyweight Joseph Benavidez decision, Dustin Ortiz, another tedious bore. I would skip it. I give it 2 stars. I mean, Benavidez proved that he is a level above Dustin Ortiz, which we already knew that going in. It was ballsy of Dustin Ortiz to take the fight, but he's clearly not ready for it. He can't handle Benavidez's speed or his acumen. So tough fight for Ortiz. Tough kid though. I mean, he took a beating and kept on ticking. And then the heavyweights, Olinsky, Olenek, and Gerald Rosholt. This was a fun slobber knocker. I'd give it 4 stars, and I'd go ahead and watch it now. I mean, it's only 3 minutes and 21 seconds. Rosholt hurt Olenek early, but then didn't finish him. Put him in a front headlock to try to take a breather, and then in the next Donnybrook, Olenek just smoked him, knocked him out. So kind of marginally promising heavyweight. I think Olenek's a little old to get too excited about. And another step back for Gerald Rosholt, who I think is going to follow the footsteps of his brother Jake and just be an MMA disappointment. So too bad for him. Good for Olenek. Fun fight. Then flyweight Chico Camus beat Brad Pickett with a split decision, and just a fight I didn't enjoy at all. 2 stars, boring, just back and forth, meant nothing to me, painful to watch. And then Edson Barbosa and Bobby Green. Edson Barbosa took the unanimous decision. This was slightly more fun just because Bobby Green has some personality. Fought the totally wrong fight against Barbosa. He's been training with the Diaz brothers, and it showed. He was trying to walk him down and talk trash, but he just doesn't have the high volume output that the Diaz brothers do. And if you let Barbosa set up, he's going to work his magic on you. And even though Bobby Green's got good boxing and good head movement, and it was hard for Barbosa to land punches, Barbosa landed a hell of a spinning back kick, I believe, in the second round that unbelievably didn't finish Green or even drop him, but still dominant win from Barbosa. Disappointing fight from Bobby Green. Just the guy needs more offensive output, really, to play that game. So I'd watch that one. If you're dying for some MMA, I'd watch it this week, maybe if it's on Fight Pass or if you DVR'd it, but otherwise it's not going to kill you to miss that one. Maybe watch it before Barbosa's next fight or Green's next fight. And that's that. That's the infamous and patented Bathrobe review. Wait, this isn't the infamous and patented Care Don't Care preview. This is just the unpleasant to look at Kid Nate morning after Bathrobe review. And Eugene Robinson will be back tomorrow with Knuckle Up. Remember to give this video a like on YouTube. Subscribe to MMANation.com on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter at KidNate. Read me on BloodyElbow.com. And adios, MMA aficionados. Thanks for watching.